Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Jake Kishi, and it's Producer Tip Tuesday, where we discuss overlooked topics on how to be a better producer. Before we get into the video, I invite you guys to please like and subscribe, as it really helps out the channel. And if you're interested, I do these discussions at full length on my Twitch channel, linked in the description, every Tuesday. But if you can't make those, don't worry, I'll be uploading these edited down versions every week here on my YouTube channel. Well, without further ado, hope you guys enjoy. Today, the topic I want to talk about is how to go about improving, what the mindset you need to have to improve, and what it means to kind of go outside your comfort zone. And I think this applies to both the business aspect and the creative aspect of music making. It's pretty well known, you can't just stay in your comfort zone if you want to get better at something. You have to challenge yourself. I'm definitely guilty of this when it comes to practicing my instruments. I'll pick up the guitar and I'll just play some random dish that I know how to do already. It's kind of like me just yeah, let me see if I can still do this. Yep, I can still do it. And then you're left without much aim when it comes to each practice session. So as far as production, on the creative side, what this could amount to in terms of how you can improve by going outside your comfort zone is you could try to produce different styles of music and approach that. So we kind of did that earlier. I don't usually make these upbeat funky tracks. That's not usually what I consider to be my style, but I actually think it helps me to be a little bit more objective, and I think it improves some of the aspects of my production processes and workflow. That's one of the most obvious ways. If you ever find yourself even just bored with production, just listening to music, trying to find genres of music that you don't listen to all the time and explore how you could make that. Along with that, you can, try to find new tools to learn, whether that's a new instrument or a new plugin or even a new program. In terms of, improving on the business side or getting your music out there, I think just, part of getting out of your comfort zone early on is just having a deadline to put your music out there, forcing yourself to release your music. I think that's a really significant point to push yourself on, but also looking for opportunities where you'll be a little bit more challenged is really helpful. So kind of this project, what I'm doing with my friend, he knew that I can make this kind of music. I've done it somewhat in the past, but it was always thinking of it as oh, this is just kind of a departure. This is kind of a vacation away from my normal. This is just for fun. So by offering me that opportunity to produce tracks for him, I've never made tracks that were specifically made for video. So that's new. It's new in that aspect. And it's also new in the aspect of just the style and the sound and the mood, because I'm usually making tracks that are more low key and that's kind of the style that I'm very comfortable with. So I think saying yes to opportunities where you'll be challenged is really helpful. I played in a band in high school, but I haven't really played live music since then. I've just been by myself or collaborating with one or two people, but it's always been with a program where we're recording things in. There's a metronome and everything, so we're all locked in. But a while back, one of my friends who works at a studio, he invited me and some other people we're all kind of in the same boat. We grew up playing, but we didn't really keep it up. And I had never played in a group setting on piano, on keys. I remember feeling really scared, what am I going to do? And then I realized it's actually really, really exciting, the fact that I feel like that, because that means I'm going to walk away from this knowing something. I could walk away from it knowing that I never want to do this again, but at the bare minimum, I'm going to walk away from this learning something very important. Kind of shifting gears, thinking about both on the creative and the business opportunity side of things. I noticed myself thinking about this recently when I was pondering how I could sell more beats or how I could maybe get placements. And I think this is an instinct that comes from my background, but I think it's common for most people, which is you tend to look for a how-to guide to do a certain thing. There's the a path of least resistance kind of approach, which is just work on your goal, find what you need to do to reach your goal, break it into steps, and just follow it. That's all you need to do. That's the guide. That's the guide. And then there's the other side, which is where it's kind of more like a tutorial. They're trying to hold your hand through the process. And those things are really helpful in certain certain aspects of creativity and life and anything. But I think it's important to remember, especially when you're talking about a creative space, it's helpful to have like landmarks or people to look up to or models to follow. But it's also important to remember that you're probably not going to reach the same level of success as them simply by following their steps. You have to follow their steps to a point, but you also have to recognize when your path kind of deviates from that. It's inevitable that I'll look back on myself in like 2 or 3 years and realize like, oh yeah, I was making all these mistakes. I should have done this. I should have reached out to this person instead of this person. I should have made this kind of beat instead of that kind of beat. I should have practiced this instead of that. And that's good. It's good for us to improve such that we look back on ourselves and think how we could have done things better and how we kind of, made things harder than they needed to be, because it's inevitable that we're going to, make mistakes. And the worst mistake is just like not doing anything. So trying to follow a surefire strategy is just kind of trying to numb yourself to the idea that you may make a mistake or you may make the wrong move or you may hold yourself back unintentionally. When it comes to learning to improve and kind of diving into those uncharted waters, that those go hand in hand, and you can't approach that with the idea of I'm trying to protect myself. I'm trying to make sure that I'm not making any mistakes. I'm trying to make sure that all of my content is perfect before I post it. Like, that's a good intention to have, but you need to know when to relinquish that. You won't know what's behind each door if you think of opportunities. Sometimes you won't have a choice but to kind of open multiple doors at a time. And when that happens, you're kind of forced to work extra hard. I kind of think about what my mom used to do in the grocery store when it's time to like check out or something. She would like stand in between the two shortest lines and kind of wait. As long as nobody was behind her, she would be basically like trying to hedge her bets by like being in both lines at the same time. So that way, once one clearly seemed to be moving faster, she was there to like jump on that opportunity. So the first suggestion, which is to just be aware that you could work hard, and instead of having to make a choice between 2 or 3 options, there's probably a way that you could at least trial doing multiple things at the same time. It could cost you a lot of sleep. It could cost you a lot of time with your friends and loved ones, but it could very well pan out where you realize, all 3 of these paths are viable, but I really enjoy doing this one, and this other one is very lucrative, and then this one I don't is not lucrative and it's not interesting. And you wouldn't get that information if you just from out of the gate you were like, I'm going to follow my heart and do path number 1, or I'm going to follow the money and do path number 2. You don't have the opportunity to have that clarity. The other suggestion is to, and this is very, very general, but practice mindfulness and awareness in what you're doing. Take time to recognize, whether it's during your process of making music or while you're working on other aspects of your business. Take time to practice noticing what you're not currently aware of. What is outside of your field of view that you could bring into your field of view? Maybe you've always been mixing your beats with the same kind of method and you've assumed that it works. What if you invested an afternoon into making a point to mix better, research how to mix better, how to try different mixing techniques, see how other people are mixing and see how it differs from your approach? You could find that it's more effective, more efficient, sounds better, but may cost you more time. Those kinds of practices really pan out and allow you to make progress where other people are kind of just running in circles. There's a separation between, is this a technical flub, or is this like a mistake, or is this part of my style? Sometimes, just having an awareness of the things that you don't think about, things that are like muscle memory, or things that are just like you think of as just part of you. Maybe you respond to everybody on social media who hits you up with the same kind of generic response. Maybe you could try giving personalized responses to every single person. Actively trying to find the things that you're not currently aware of and think about how you could maybe put more focus on it, put a little bit more depth into the work there. In terms of how you can expand, like get out of your comfort zone in terms of sound, we talked about trying to make new styles of music that you haven't already tried to make before, things that you're already appreciative of. But I think on top of that, you can also try to think, step back and think about your music in terms of different influences that you have that you specifically want to incorporate. My friend and I had this like conversation where we were like, what would be like the coolest like short description of the music that you'd want to make? And I think we came up with, what if Flume and Muramasa collaborated for an instrumental for Frank Ocean? Like, we hadn't made anything yet. We hadn't made a song to match that concept, but it was just like, just having that idea in your head gives you presents a whole world of possibility outside of just, if you're just sitting down to make music and you're like, oh, I'm going to make a trap beat today. I'm going to make a lo-fi beat. These really wide buckets that don't really help you define a sound that's really unique for yourself. It can be helpful to step back and look, like, what are my influences? What kind of things would I like to convey? What's the type of music that combines the influences and the things that I already have a taste for in a way that doesn't exist already? Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.